He's finally done it. Masters champion. And after many tears, his talent fulfilled and now unbridled joy. Rory's Grand Slam is complete.
From generational talent to golfing immortal, golf's most exclusive club has just admitted only its 6th member. The morning after the night before. Welcome to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway. Rory McIlroy has finally fulfilled his destiny. Dame Laura Davies and Nick Dougherty alongside me. And I think we're all feeling pretty emotionally drained after that one, Nick. He put us through the ringer yesterday.
It was like everything that's come before in 18 holes, wasn't it? There was brilliance, the shots that you just think, wow, like how's he doing? It's every bit as good as Tiger Woods in his prime, those miracle shots that we idolise Tiger for, like the chip in at 16, like you remember him at the Masters. Some of those shots from Rory yesterday, think about the one on the 7th, the one on 15 when he was on the canvas, but then also the mistakes, Jamie, and you're like, oh my goodness, it was put to bed, playing 13, and all of a sudden it was wide open. And it looked for a second, I've got a lot of faith in McIlroy as a player. It was his time, but for a brief second there, I thought it was done. Thought it wasn't going to happen again, and that would have been excruciating for him.
You and me both. Damo, just a privilege to be there to witness that yesterday, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was incredible. I can't really add to what Nick said. It was, you thought he was there, you're thinking, oh, don't win by too many, we need some excitement. 13 happens, then you're thinking, oh, what are you doing to yourself? Because, we're struggling along watching because we all really want him to do well. But what he was going through inside, I cannot even imagine. Well, you can imagine it because you saw what happened when he fell on the green on 18 when he finally captured the jacket. So he really did put himself through it.
He did, and he put us all through it as well. And I was lucky enough to grab a quick word with Rory after he'd finished his round, and this is what he had to say. Saracen, Hogan, Player, Nicklaus, Woods, McIlroy. It's some club to be part of. Can you possibly fathom what you've just accomplished?
I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and I dreamed that one day this would happen, but to have your name mentioned alongside those greats of the game, that it is hard to put into words. And I wasn't thinking about that out there. All I was trying to do was win a golf tournament, and that's hard to do anyway. But I just think the burden of what I carry into this, the baggage, everything that I carry into this tournament each and every year, to be able to sort of shed all of that after today, that's amazing.
With that in mind, the overwhelming emotion is probably joy, but how much relief is mixed in there? How much of a weight to carry on your shoulders have these last 11 years been?
It's been a lot, coming in here, being pretty much the center of attention, coming into the Masters every time you tee it up, and not in a good way, in a pretty pressure-packed way. So I think each and every year that I've come here, I've learned how to handle that burden a little bit better, and I wish I had done it sooner. It took me a while to figure it out, but thankfully I was able to get over the line in the end.
You said to me not that long ago, mostly tongue-in-cheek, that once you win a green jacket, you just retire in the spot. We haven't seen the last of Rory McIlroy just yet, have we?
No, I just said there, you can't win all 4 majors in a year if you haven't won the first one. So there's a lot of golf left to play this year. Next major is a Quail Hollow somewhere that I've loved for the most part of my career. The Open at Portrush, the Ryder Cup at Bethpage. There's a lot of golf left this year, and I've gotten off to a great start, obviously, and can't wait to keep it going.
Just very quickly, finally, what's for dinner Tuesday next year?
Well, when I saw Scotty in Butler Cabin, I said I'm not serving burgers next year. So I'm not sure. I've got a year to think about it, but I'll hopefully come up with a unique menu and a menu that all the past champions will enjoy.
You began the week by saying you wanted to make 8-year-old Rory proud. You've made 8-year-old Rory very proud indeed. The most exclusive club in golf has just admitted its 6th member, and it's Rory McIlroy. Damo, Rory, understandably emotional, and it does feel like a huge weight has been lifted from his shoulders. Now, I can't imagine what that's been like to carry around for 11 years.
Yeah, well, I said last night, the pressure he played under, certainly on Sunday, He'll never feel pressure like that again. So he's reached the limit of what you can push yourself through as a professional athlete, and he won. He came out on top. So when he turns up for the PGA in a month's time, it's going to feel like a breeze. They can ask him whatever they want, and all he has to think inside is any stupid questions he gets. I've got a green jacket, I've got the Grand Slam. Life is going to be even nicer for Rory McIlroy now, because he doesn't have to answer those questions that must have driven him mad for 11 years. So all power to him. I don't really know how he came back off the canvas that many times. I mean, he was like a prize fighter.
Yeah.
It just kept taking punches, and it self-inflicted punches. I mean, it's almost like he was bashing himself.
Yeah.
But he came back, and finally, I felt sorry for Justin, because Justin did such a good job.
Yeah, of course.
And hit such a good shot into 18 in the playoff. But Rory won up to him, and that's the genius of Rory. You don't know what's coming. How he didn't hit the green on 18 first time round, I will never know. He had 125 with a gap wedge. But that's pressure of top sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's over-egged a bit, this whole big weight. I mean, like, here, I'm 42, I'm still waiting for my first major. You know, that's longer than Rory's gone. So, I mean, I do think we overdo it. All joking aside, I can't understand what it took. I think when we watch golf most time, because we played the sport, and obviously Laura's a much higher standard than me, but I like think we understand most things. We see it, think, I know how he's done that, whether it be a shot, whether about how they're feeling.
Yeah.
That is like, I can't fathom the pressure, the burden, as he put it, that he carried into, as he carries in every year. It's 1 week, once a year. If he fails, it's a whole year to wait.
Yeah.
And then the build-up from January, getting closer. How is he going to prepare this time? He's playing really well. This is the one. Just trying to stay away from the noise, as he put it. To then go and deliver like he did, but also look like he'd blown it. You know, the double on the first, ironically, said it felt like he settled him, which, wow, first of all. But then the mistake on 13, most people, certainly me, I can speak for myself, you're done. Like, your legs are gone. You don't come back from that.
I felt sick in my stomach. I can't even begin to imagine how he feels when that happens. I don't understand how your legs are not just completely turned to jelly when you're standing on that 14th tee, and then he bogeys 14 as well. How do you stand on the 15th, rip a drive down there, and then hook this insane 7-iron round the trees to 4 feet? I mean, it's just, I don't understand what it takes to do that.
I think we're not supposed to. I think that's maybe I've sort of thought about it a little bit, which says a little bit about how I spent my Sunday night. But I don't think we're supposed to, because we probably don't understand how someone who's won all 4 major championships thinks.
Right.
And the fact that they can leave it behind, he works with Bob Rotella, that amnesia that they talk about of leaving that behind, that was crucial yesterday. Because if he couldn't do that, he couldn't have done what he did. Because he did it on 15, and then he hits the shot on 17, and he hits the tee shot on the last. It's done. We're in the studio. We're ready to tell that story. You know what it's like in that role. It's sort of like you're putting together, how does this chat go? What do we need to hit on? What are the talking points? And then from nowhere, misses the green with a wedge. One of the most awful shots from 125 to the last. And then he misses the putt. Again, he's done. That's done. Yeah. It's like, as much as like it's me against him in the playoff, there's too much.
Yeah.
Like, you probably don't recover on the back of that. Like, that loss is tragic in
exactly.
a golfing sense. And yeah, he had the courage to stand up there after Rose hit a lovely shot in the playoff and hit that to win. I just think he went up in my estimation. I've always thought there's no one who's even remotely close to Tiger Woods. And of course, he isn't going to get to Tiger Woods, and he isn't going to be probably that level, but he is as close as we've seen, and there is a gulf there between someone whose ability to do that and still what we're yet to learn if someone like Scheffler can do in that arena. That was extra special.
Professional sport is such a double-edged sword, Damon, when you've played it at the very elite level. And as Nick says, it was that thin line between triumph and disaster yesterday. Now, we've just spoken about it, there's a huge weight off his shoulders. He can freewheel. He can skip to Quail Hollow in 4 weeks' time, where he can win with his eyes closed, by the way. And just there's no burden anymore. If he hadn't got it done yesterday, I don't know how he possibly could have ever recovered from that one. That one would have just left too many mental scars.
Well, we think that, don't we? But when you're a genius, I mean, I consider Rory in the genius category in the sporting sense. And the fact that he could very quickly put away what happened on 18 and come out and play 18 in the playoff the way he did, he has this remarkable talent just for letting it go. He said himself he was so nervous on the first tee. You wouldn't have known that. He covered that up well, because I'd said in the build-up in the morning, I'm really looking forward to the first tee, and I watched him and I thought, oh, he looks all right. But then he says the double bogey settled him down because he was so nervous. So he has an ability to somehow separate himself from how he's feeling and still produce the goods the way he did. Yes, he came unravelled on 13 and 18, but then he comes back again. So I think even if he hadn't won, although the expectations would have gone on and probably wouldn't have gone on to win a major this year and come back here again and we'd have done the whole thing again.
Yeah.
I can't say he wouldn't have won it because I just think he's that good.
It's interesting, Nick, he started his press conference yesterday by saying, before anybody else asks a question, can I just ask a question myself? What on earth are we going to talk about next year? Because every year he's come here for the last decade and it has been he has been the centre of attention. Is it going to be Rory's year? Is it going to be Rory's year? Is it going to be Rory's year? And that much. And it also interesting in his press conference, he said, when the likes of Jack Nicklaus and Gary Player and Tiger and everybody says, oh well, he's good. It's not a matter of when. It's not a matter if it's when Rory wins the Masters. That doesn't help.
No, I think that's more telling. The noise with public, people outside watch, you just love golf. That's one thing, and I think elite athletes have to be bulletproof in that sense as much as they can be in terms of separating themselves from that, judgment and people saying, oh, he's blown it. Like they can detach from that. But when you've got peers or people that you look up to and you've idolised, who've blazed the trail, and maybe even walked the same steps that you're trying to, saying those things, that is a massive burden. We ran in that clip from when the first time he had the chance to do it, Livo was presenting right there in that studio where we are at Augusta, and Jack's in there with him. Yeah. And he goes, look, we just need to come to. He's going to win a ton of these things. Like he's going to get up there and he's going to challenge what I've done. Like, oh, lovely, but not at the same time. Yeah. And I just think for him, that's a harder thing to stay from because he knows he's good enough. He knows this was the major he should have won first. Maybe not knows, but it's the one he certainly had the chance to win first in 2011. It didn't happen. And then it became this thing that ever grows as a monster that grows each and every year. And he comes back and it's even more brutal and ugly. And it's just a thing. He can play the golf. But again, on any given week, I wouldn't put anything of significance on Scotty Scheffler winning on a given week. I wouldn't come there and go, like, you know what, he's won 2 of the last 3 Masters. He's held to a higher standard,
isn't he?
Yeah.
He's held to a higher standard.
He is, but there's also now this is the most volatile of sports, and there's so many other contenders. It's not Liverpool against Man United. This is one guy against a ton of really great players. I'm certainly not betting my house on Scotty Scheffler to win the Masters. It's just because he's won 2 of the last 3. Yeah. No, I might, you might think, you put 100 quid on it or something like that, but you wouldn't bet anything of real significance because it just doesn't follow the rules, and especially on that golf course, and especially with the burden he has. And I just think, as he said yesterday, Jamie, that he definitely did question whether it would ever happen, and more so in recent times. And I can only imagine, you mentioned in your interview with him yesterday, the joy, but you also talked about the relief. I have to be thinking it's 10 times the amount of relief in this moment to joy, and maybe the joy comes a little bit later as well.
Yeah, and Damo, it's unique as well. We were saying yesterday, if you're playing football or tennis, you're in the moment and it happens so quickly. Golf is a unique sport in that 4 times last week he had to go to bed and somehow get a night's sleep and get up and do it all over again the next day. You've got 5 minutes between shots for 4 days, for 73 holes, for 280 shots, was it in total? How do you just manage to switch off between each shot and be in the moment and not think about the gravity of what it is you're about to achieve?
Well, that's the hardest thing to do. That's what separates the really good players, and there's plenty of them, from the great players, and then the elite players, which now Rory has become one. You just have to find a formula that works for you, because some people sleep well, won't even think anything of it, have a big breakfast in the morning. Other people won't be able to eat, they won't sleep well, but they'll find a way of getting it done because that's what they do week in, week out. Now, obviously, when you come to Augusta for Rory, it's amped up, and I'm sure even he was out of his comfort zone this week because he just wanted it so much, if for nothing else, just to shut everybody up. And he wanted the green jacket. He wants to come back here till he's 70 years old, go to the dinners, do all that. So I compare him to someone like Greg Norman, who should have won the Masters. Yes. And it must be the one thing. I mean, Greg Norman's so successful, won everywhere. He's never coming back here. Well, now Rory's doing it, and the dreams of having that make it even harder. But you just have to find a way that works for you and go with it. Never second guess yourself, because you're the one that's got to do it. Like you say, you've got all this time in between shots, in between rounds. and a year to come back to round. There's all these things that go into it, and he's handled it. Finally, he's handled it, and well, the sky's the limit now.
Yeah, I know, and I probably, like you, Nick, I've spent so much time just flipping through Instagram this morning. I can't get enough of it. All the little clips of him seeing the champions locker room for the first time, and you just see his face light up.
Yeah.
This means so much to him.
It does, and you know, it's interesting. You enjoy it from your perspective, right? As you watch, whether you're at home watching on telly, for us here working in that environment, and the meaning comes from how you experience what's happening. And obviously, our role here is different. And I remember being here in 2019 when Tiger won, and that was the first time that I was doing the job I do for Sky, and it was a hands-on-head moment because, oh my God, we didn't think we'd ever see this again. Yeah. It can't be bested.
Yeah.
And Faldo said this. Nick Faldo said this last night. You can't beat that. It was beaten yesterday. Yeah. And I just think the enormity of what we watched there yesterday is something that you can't quite fathom. And for me, the images, though, and it made it so that when we came in, because we were right in the back of it, I was starting to move. And again, I just think it's weird. This is not mine. This is Rory's. Sure, we're doing our jobs, but it won't change my life, this. And yeah, I found myself voice going as I'm talking over the images because you just know the meaning. And you saw that outpouring of emotion on that green in particular. A Rory, like facial expressions I've never seen. It was like a different human being. Like this and the vibrating on the spot, you know, that he was heaving from the emotion pouring out. That taps into our emotion, and all of a sudden we feel attached to it. So for me, that was the thing. As much of all those lovely shots of him and seeing those things, him in the Champions, I get all that. That raw emotion of the relief, joy, and everything in equal measure for me was just like a wow moment.
And I think that is one of the reasons we all love Rory, right? Because he is so human, he is so vulnerable, he is, I was going to say one of us, he's not, the way he plays golf, he isn't one of us, but so many golfers don't show that same vulnerability, that same raw emotion that Rory McIlroy does.
Yeah, he shares himself, doesn't he? He answers all the tough questions. I mean, yeah, after round one when he had the two doubles, probably the first time I can remember him where he just wasn't interested. And you can understand why, because he had to go and reset. But 99 times out of 100, he gives absolutely everything. I've never actually met him, but he seems just like the nicest guy, do anything for anybody. But then when he gets into the arena, he's an absolute monster. He's the one that no one wants to see Rory coming up behind you on a leaderboard. That's one of those things you just, as a player, you hate to see the big guns coming up and you think, oh, I'm in trouble now. But I can't think anyone on tour wouldn't particularly like him, though, because some of the really good players, they're not that liked overall, over their careers. They don't necessarily share themselves like Rory does. So I think that's why we love it so much, why the people at home love it so much. And even though they're up against their All-American hero yesterday in Bryson DeChambeau, on the second green, you could clearly tell the patrons were rooting for Rory McIlroy. They really were. Not just because he doubled the first, because they wanted to see history that day. And the fact that Bryson's the people's champion now, this gallery weren't with Bryson. They were with Rory. And I think that speaks volumes that a European player can come over here and take the gallery away from one of their own.
And do you know what's interesting, Nick? We know how well-read and educated and a student of the game Rory is. To compare him to another golfer, you know, Dustin Johnson had so many near misses and so many mental scars, and people said, well, the reason he's able to recover from each one is because there's not an awful lot going on between the ears with Dustin Johnson.
Your words, not mine.
Exactly. Yeah. But Rory's the opposite, and he does, like, all of those scars will have weighed heavily on him.
Yeah, he is, as Laura said there, I think one of the reasons that he is so liked by the golfing public as well is because he does reflect a little bit of us, in spite of, as you said, none of us play like him. He is a flawed genius. Like, he does things that we aspire to, and he did this all in 18 holes yesterday, things that we look up to and think, wow, I don't understand it. I can't fathom how you can do that. But he also does things that even we would be disappointed with. Yeah. And that's life, though, right? And I think that, and it's so lovely that we've got a sports star that's so good and done something so meaningful that is really interesting. And he taps into the emotion of it for us, and he wears his heart on his sleeve. He gets angry. At a Ryder Cup, they're being pulled back because he's so invested in what's going on in the moment. He shows us how he feels. He's angry. He's thoughtful. He's not just dodging a question with golfing cliches to just get out of there, which unfortunately in sport is something we see a lot because they're protecting himself. He is a great example, and you know as well as we do, the nature of the world we live in, not everyone's a Rory fan. Sometimes the big guys up there who are doing these things are there to be shot at for whatever reason. But I think for most, and the figures watching yesterday suggest that is very much the case. The greatest ever viewing of a tournament that's not the Ryder Cup, and I think that reflects the interest that there is for people to see someone like Rory, with who he is as well as how he plays golf, go ahead and achieve what he did.
And to your point, he's never afraid to give his opinion. He's always very forthright with his opinion. But then he's never afraid to say that his opinion's changed as well. And he's big enough and man enough to sort of say, well, actually, the circumstances have changed, so my opinion has changed on that. Or, I said that, it was in the heat of the moment. I know, I don't mean that I've changed. He said about the Ryder Cup in the past. He said about the Open Championship in the past. But it's a measure of the man that he's actually big enough to...
With humour as well.
Not double down, but say, I got that wrong. I shouldn't have said that, and this is what I now think. Which
again is human, right? Because we all get things wrong all of the time, and sometimes it's hard. We have to go with the tail between our legs. I'm sorry, with it in human relationships that we have. He does that on a public platform, but he's not afraid to do it. He's not afraid to say, no, I don't feel like that anymore, and I spoke to so and so, and that's a bit different. And he'll think about it, and he's not scared to be. He's not afraid to be vulnerable. And I think we really are attracted to that. As much as we love these bulletproof superstar heroes, we also like the ones that are sometimes are vulnerable, whilst at the same time give us something to look up to. And he is that guy.
Nick mentioned the enormity of the occasion yesterday. Damo mentions Rory's popularity. And it was clear to see how much it meant to other golfers who were there yesterday as well. Shane Lowry, Tommy Fleetwood, two of the golfers on the scene to give him a big bear hug as he walked towards recording. And this is what they had to say about Rory's victory yesterday.
This means everything to him. It's all he thinks about. It's all he talks about, all he thinks about. Always said to me he'd retire a happy man if he won the green jacket. So I told Erica he can retire now. He's had a long 10 years, 11 years. He's had a lot of hurdles. He's had a lot of, moments to get back up from. And he's kind of a credit to him. And, it's a sign or something for the rest of us to cling on to, that, no matter what happens, no matter how bad you feel, you just need to keep going, keep working hard, and, your day will come.
I've said it a bunch of times. I think Rory is the best player of our generation. I don't think he's had to prove that for a while, but, for him to have finally got this one, if you like, and like I say, career Grand Slam, unbelievably special. Everything he's already done in his career is very, very special, and I think this time was always going to come. It's just that Rory makes you feel like it's not going to at some point sometimes, but this was always going to come.
Guys, we also need to talk about Justin Rose, because what a true champion, what a fierce competitor, what a gentleman who always carries himself with such grace and dignity. And as incredible it was to witness that victory for Rory yesterday, your heart did bleed for Justin.
Yeah, it really did. I texted Fuchs, his caddy, last night and said, hey, how's it going? And obviously very disappointed. But I think he's very pleased the way he's playing. And obviously he wants the green jacket more than anything. Who knows, he might come back next year and it might be his turn. He's had three runner-ups now. But Justin at 44, these are the moments you want. Although it hasn't worked out for him, he would have taken so much immense joy out of going down the stretch with the modern day great players and sticking to them. He did it last year at the Open when he finished second to Xander Schauffele. And he's got a Ryder Cup. He's basically thrown his hat in the ring. It'd be hard to see him not playing in the. Exactly, that's what I mean. Yeah. So, at 44, to still be a Ryder Cup, not just a thought, almost a shoe-in now. I'm sure he's as disappointed as he was last night. He's so proud of the way he's playing at his age, and like you say, he handles himself so well. His interviews, no malice at all. Just I did my best. Everything you heard him say was. And I don't think he's trying to be politically correct in that he doesn't want to be seen as a bad sport. I just think he's a nice bloke who's taken it on the chin, but he's really pleased with what he's done in his second place finish and looking forward to Quail Hollow, I'm sure, and he'll back himself to win on the PGA Tour again this year, without a doubt.
Back-to-back runner-up finishes in major championships. They're 8 months apart, but at this stage of his career, just when you think his career, maybe it's sort of just petering out, maybe he's going to be the next Ryder Cup captain, he just keeps on going. Justin Rose, he is remarkable.
He does want to be the Ryder Cup captain, and he'll be a brilliant one, but it's not yet. No. And he knows that, and I think we all know that too now. It's funny, something funny about Augusta National and the Open. To be fair, the two majors, They're the ones where experience is
Yes.
amplified in terms of a skill set. And particularly at Augusta, it's a peer inside the soul, but also inside the mind. And what he maybe lacks at 44 now, he's not an old man, he's 44, but these are athletes as well. He can't, like you could see the playoff, the difference was the distance off the tee. 40 yards closer to the green for Rory. He could throw that wedge in behind the flag, use the slope with the spin to bring it back. Rosie hit a stunning shot in, but it was as close as he could hit it.
Yeah.
Pitched it just on the top over it, and it rolled just past the hole. There was a gap there, but he made up for it with what he's got between the ears. That toughness, that bullishness, because he's a gentleman and he is a class act. But we know him better than that. Like, he is feisty, he is fiery, and he is hungry. And that is not going away. And I think for us one thing we can really look up to and admire with Justin Rose is he's been that way since 1998. That's a long time. And you think players like Tiger Woods and, you know, the body's broken down on him, and then other players that they just don't keep the hunger for that long. And he has.
Yeah.
And he's still every bit as good now in that arena, the biggest arena, as he was back then. And absolutely demonstrated why that mind, that heart, and also that game means absolutely he's going to be at Bethpage Black. I just can't see a world unless his game fell off a cliff. Which, when does that really happen with Justin Rose? He has to be there because he brings so much to that team. And I did feel for him yesterday, Jamie, just to finish there, because if it wasn't for the enormity of the Rory story there, that could have been a close second or third, certainly, in terms of possible narratives to tell. Justin Rose winning the Masters to add to an already impressive CV.
Yeah, and Nick talks about his hunger. Demo, you know, runner-up finish at the Open last year at Royal Troon. He had to qualify to get into that Open. And I was at Burnham and Barrow, you know, a couple of weeks before that Open, when he played 36 holes in a day just to get a spot in the Open. And there's a lot of players who've achieved what Justin Rose, you know, major champions, multiple Ryder Cuppers, who would think, I'm not lowering myself to going and playing 36 holes at Burnham Barrow and Open qualifying with all that riff-raff. No, I'm above that. But Justin Rose doesn't mind it. He rolls his sleeves up. He gets on with it. He got a spot at that Open, and he was a couple of shots away from lifting that claret jug.
Yep, that just shows the character of him. He's not prepared to say, okay, I'm not going to play the Open. He wants to play the Open. As you say, rolls his sleeves up. And it's not easy, those qualifiers, to get into the Open. 36 holes against really good players. But he was obviously the class act on the day. But he still had to produce. And the pressure of that, just to get the spot, to give himself the platform, to go on and nearly win it. But that just shows you he's definitely backs himself all the way. That's why he hung in there. Well, he was in a good position yesterday. He had absolutely nothing to lose. It was always going to be a battle. We all thought it was going to be a battle between the top two. But there's the wily old fox part of it. Someone post a number and just see what happens if they do get into a match situation. And they did kind of both fall away, although Rory kept coming back, as we know. And Justin was the man that posted the number that nearly won him the green jacket. So he's not done for a good while yet, because, as we say, his game's not going to fall, because he's not got the kind of game that does fall off the planet. He's not wild necessarily off the tee. Sometimes his putting lets him down, but his long game very rarely lets him down, and that's the sign of the great players for me.
How about that putt on the last thing? What you were just saying there is like, I mean, what a moment. It gives me as big a goosebumps and the hair's going up on the back of my neck as almost some of the stuff Rory did. That putt on the last, oh my goodness.
Guys, just cojones like watermelons.
Oh,
isn't it?
it's amazing. What a Masters.
Yeah.
My goodness.
One of the reasons I felt for him so much yesterday was because everybody wanted the Rory story yesterday. And it almost felt like in 2017, everybody wanted the Sergio story as well. Like it felt like this is a guy who is also a generational talent, who's never won a major championship. And everyone kind of wanted it for Sergio on that occasion as well. And that's twice now that Justin Rose has been in a playoff at the Masters where he must have felt like the majority of people were rooting for his opponent.
Yeah, I think certainly this time. I mean, I must admit, I'm close with both of those guys, but I would pull for Rosie over Sergio just because of the connection that I have with him. But I understand why Sergio, he needed one. Justin had one.
Yeah.
Yes, they certainly. That would have been not for Justin because he's a great guy. That's something the feistiness and the competitor in him would have had no problem. There'd be no part of him thinking, "Oh, this is weird." Like Shane, arguably, would have been a tough one as well. Like, oh goodness, I could be the guy in the way of this history from a friend. And with Rosie and Rory, obviously close, but he would have been all about the business, taking care of what he was trying to do. And any other week, any other Masters, he would have had a huge amount of support there but he would have almost been the Stuart Sink to the Tom Watson.
Yeah, a
if
little
he'd
bit.
have.
I think Corey Connors would have been the Stuart Sink yesterday. But, yeah.
Oh no, 100%. But like, it's ironic because Justin's one of the most favourite players in the world. But it was a story that I think the golfing world wanted to tell about Rory.
Yeah.
But he did it with class, and the role that he played within it makes him a really important character in the theatre that we got to watch yesterday. And 3 times a runner-up there, but with the way he still plays, the way he looks after himself, maybe we tell that next year.
Yeah, let's hope so. I would love to see him slip into a green jacket one day, and he does carry himself with such class, and this is how he spoke to Anna Jackson after his round.
Do you know, start of the day, I kind of felt like yesterday put me a little too far back, if I was completely honest. Played so well yesterday, frittered it away, kind of was frustrated I wasn't a couple closer because I really feel like I have been playing really, really well. But I kind of try to remind myself Sunday at Augusta it's a special place to be, and the weather being as it was, the crowd, the way the golf course was, it was a day to enjoy no matter what. And I went about my business, got off to a good start, made some mistakes as it seemed like everybody was, and then around the turn I just kind of felt like I clicked into gear and I felt so good, so comfortable. The putt I hit at 13, couldn't miss for eagle there. There were obviously some things you can look back on and change, but to hold the putt at 18, which was the putt you dream about having as a kid to win the Masters or to become 10 for the Masters, to bury that one at 18 was an amazing feeling. And obviously I've been here before, having lost a playoff. It's not easy, but at the same time I think it's more evidence that what I'm trying to achieve at the moment in my career is still, it's paying off. I'm getting closer and closer. So sometimes you've got to bang on the door.
Back-to-back runner-up finishes now in majors, going back to the Open last year. How do you balance the feeling of confidence versus disappointment?
I think you can only take confidence from the way I've played. Both occasions I've stepped up and I've been, played with the top players in the world. Matched them shot for shot. In fact, at the Open Championship, I thought I played the best golf of the week there, if I really break it down. And some of the golf I've played this week, I think, has been unmatched as well. So, really, really pleased with where my game is. My name is not etched into those historic trophies, which is disappointing. But I don't think I can do a ton different in the moment.
Guys, before the round yesterday, we were sort of billing it as this is a 2-horse race. This is a head-to-head battle. The rest are too far back. Justin Rose proved that was wrong. But it was all about Rory versus Bryson yesterday. And Bryson was just a complete no-show.
Well, the thing about Bryson was he hadn't played well all week with his irons. He'd driven it nicely. That's the best part of his game, arguably. But all week he'd struggled, and his short game kept him in it. Some of the bunker play on Saturday was out of this world. Even on Sunday, he hit that plug bunker shot that was ridiculously good. So you always felt like, although it was a so-called match, you thought Rory, the way he was playing, would put him to bed just purely because he wasn't playing well enough. But then you've got to turn it on its head. Has he found something on the range on the Saturday night? Has he found something this morning where all of a sudden his irons, because every iron he hit, he pulled. He got to 11, the one hole you can't pull it. And because that was his stock shot on the week, he pulls it in the water, and that was him effectively done at that point. So I don't think he lost his nerve out there. He just didn't have his best stuff this week. The fact he was up there in the final group 2 behind Rory was actually a bit of a miracle with his short game and his chipping and his putting. So you have to say I'm not that surprised that he didn't have a great finish.
Yeah, it was a 69 on Saturday that arguably should have been a 75. It was a miracle 69 that you shot on the Saturday. Did it surprise you at all that he was a bit of a no-show yesterday?
I thought he might find a little something. It certainly wasn't for lack of trying. I mean, no one's hit more balls on that range or the tournament practice facility this week. But yeah, I completely agree with Laura. It's hard to survive just on incredible short game skills. Sevi would have been proud of how he chipped and putted the ball, particularly chipped the ball this week. But you can't play the golf you need to in the theatre of a Sunday at Augusta National. It's just not a lot to hang on to when you. It's not just that. It's the fact the iron play was so off, and we know historically it's the thing at Augusta, and arguably why this was the time that Rory got the job done. He was good. He was really good with the irons, Rory. He didn't have to lean on his short game anywhere near as much as maybe he has done in the past. And I just think there was a gulf there in the quality from tee to green that even with that start that put him out in front, the sloppiness of the bogeys from Bryson, I felt like that was when the horse bolted. Like the 3 putts, nearly 3 in a row, but like certainly the 2 in back-to-back fashion, whilst Rory recovered, just swung momentum massively Rory's way, and then he never looked back. And Bryson just didn't have the golf to come after him.
They're very, very different characters, Bryson and Rory, and I think Bryson wanted to make it a dogfight, a street fight yesterday, and go mano a mano with Rory. Rory wanted to stay in his own bubble, and it was telling that Bryson, in his interviews after his round yesterday, said he didn't speak to me once the whole way round, and that almost sort of like got to him. But Tiger never spoke to his opponents the entire way round. I don't know what you were like when you were going toe to toe at final days of majors, Damon.
Yeah, I don't know if it's different in the women's game. Yeah, we always used to chat. It didn't matter. I mean,
Yeah.
you all wanted to win, and it was. But I don't ever remember walking the other side of the fair. Well, I was never in the fairway. I was normally in the trees. But
Amen, sister.
But no, I don't know if it is different in the women's game. But I don't really see that side of it. But if Bryson thought that he was going to be chatty, Rory, that was never going to happen,
No.
because probably Rory went to the course yesterday morning, probably not fearing, but thinking this is going to be hard work, because he's going to be revving the galleries up, and I don't want to be too pally-pally with this guy, because it's going to work against me. If he's revving up the crowd and then saying, "Oh, what'd you have for breakfast?" that doesn't work in that dynamic. So I think Rory not talking to him was a very clever ploy, and it sounds like it got to him. So one up Rory.
I think personally he's doing that interview and he's mad as a wasp.
Yeah,
Like he is, as we've all been before, coming off the course, and every good journalist knows this. Like, there's a good time sometimes to get a grab. That was a good time for Bryson. Like the demeanour, the things he was saying.
See also Shane's interview on Saturday.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they knew, and he was ready to go, because he isn't naive enough to realise that is absolutely the game plan. Why would I want to, as Rory McIlroy, engage with the guy that's going to try and ride this gallery and rile them up in the way that he does? Not to be unfair, because that he gets this energy from the crowd. He did it at Pinehurst number 2. He couldn't do it there. No. One, because I think it was lopsided to Bryson at Pinehurst in the US Open. It wasn't there. As Radar said, the favourite was Rory.
Yeah.
But also Bryson wasn't playing well enough to get him to pick up. Rory had this burden as well. In what world is Rory going to be treating it like let's get a nice little chat going here and engage? No, he's in his, as he said with Bob Brittall, he's blocking out the noise, staying in his lane, he's taking the energy down. That was his job. You don't do that by having a chat with a guy that's up here.
And it might have been different if he'd been playing alongside Justin or Shane or even Corey Connors in the final round yesterday. It might have been different.
I think a little, but I don't think a lot, because in the end he had to put himself in a place to play the golf that was required, and arguably that could have been a tougher draw. With Shane, really easy to do it with someone that you think, right, I know the job here and I know what he's going to be like, and I need to shut this down. Or if you're not close to him, I'm not saying he's not close with Bryson or he doesn't have respect there, but with Shane, that would have maybe been almost tougher in some ways, because you don't want to be. He that took all of his energy. There was nothing spare there yesterday that he couldn't put into all of the things he sits and works with his team on focusing on to allow him to just be able to play the golf in a cauldron of pressure that's unrivaled.
Yeah, Damo, it felt as if maybe if it was 80% of the patrons for Rory yesterday, 20% for Bryson, maybe that 20% was louder than the 80%, and that's why, certainly on Saturday, you felt as if it was going to be a sort of almost an even split between the patrons, but it did feel as yesterday progressed that they were all pulling for Rory.
Yeah, I think what happened on Saturday evening when he holed that monster putt across 18 to get from 3 behind to 2 behind, and the way he reacted, and that crowd round the green went absolutely wild. And I must admit, I was sat there thinking, oh, this could be problems tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then he was revving them up even more. The walk to the clubhouse took him about half an hour, because I think he high-fived everyone there. And that's probably, and Rory would have seen that, and that's probably where Rory's attitude would have come from. Oh, okay, if this is the way it's going to go, then that's fine. I'll just do my thing. You play with the galleries. I'll worry about the golf. And it kind of backfired on Bryson, because he didn't have a good enough game. If he'd have started hitting shots, on the second into 4 foot for eagles, that might have changed it, because the galleries like seeing greatness. And on the day, I think they realised that it was Rory's day, so that's why they probably tilted towards him. But Saturday night, I was a bit worried about the way things were going to go on Sunday with how the noises were going to affect the play. Because as a player, when you're in contention, it affects you. It definitely affects you. You're not human if you can block it all out.
I think both of them probably treated, to a certain extent yesterday, like a match play situation, didn't they? And I think Rory got sucked into that at St Andrews in 2022 as well. He thought, if I beat Victor Hovland, I've won the Claret Jug. And lo and behold, Cam Smith comes up on the rails, and we know what he did there. I mean, 64 final round, one of the greatest final rounds in major history. But it almost happened again yesterday. I think Rory thought, if I beat Bryson, I've won the green jacket. And lo and behold, Justin comes up on the rails, and Ludwig for a while comes up on the rails as well.
I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question, that, Jamie. I don't know. I don't know if he would have treated it too much. He's smarter than that, because we know things can happen. I think he would have obviously had an eye. He's always going to watch, because he knows that, like, he's got gears, right, that Rory can push. Sometimes he comes unstuck when he pushes, but he's got gears if he has to push, and he'd have to watch what's going on for that to weigh up whether or not to do that. But staying in his lane, and like, I know what I've worked with Bob Botella, like, staying in your lane and just do you is what Bob's all about.
Yeah.
And that would have been the focus. You know, and just going back to what Damo was saying there, like, Bryson's smart. That, I'm not saying it's put on it, because I think it is his character, and he loves that energy and the fact that he is this engaging character, and the fans love it too, patrons here. He's smart enough to know that that was really uncomfortable. His biggest asset yesterday was that Rory's trying to do something that comes with a burden of pressure that he can't even fathom, because he's not even in that arena. So if he can lean into an uncomfortable environment and make it feel even more uncomfortable, with in terms of the noise and the circus that could go around Bryson in that, because it's not normal for Augusta. That reaction on Saturday of him walking to scoring is not normal for the Masters.
No.
That's not. I'm not saying they didn't love it, Augusta themselves, because, you know, the energy, the excitement was amazing. But that would have made it even more uncomfortable, and I just think he'd have been very aware of that. So he would have wanted the dogfight. He would have wanted the mano a mano going up that first hole and feeling like it's like a button of heads. Because also, I did you last time.
Yeah.
Last time we were here, remember what happened, mate? Like, that would have been absolutely something he wanted to lean into. And Rory made that impossible for him with the way he behaved out there in terms of staying in his lane. I thought it was impressive.
Yeah, and he knew in his own mind, he knew he didn't have his best stuff, so he had to have something extra to try and take down Rory on that that particular Sunday. So clever from Bryson, and I just hope these two get a real rivalry going. I hope they go at it again the next major, and every time they do come together, because it could be a rivalry of the ages. It really could be.
Do you know, to that point, though, I was saying to the guys yesterday, this is what is remarkable about Rory McIlroy. I think people underappreciate his longevity sometimes, and he has been at the top of the game for such a long time. And you talk about, could this be the start of a rivalry with Bryson? 15 years ago, it was like, oh, could Ricky Fowler and Rory McIlroy be the new McIlroy? Then it was, can Jordan Spieth and Rory McIlroy be the new? And it's always like, and Rory has been the consistent thread throughout that. He's the one who has stayed there for the last 15 years at the very top of the game.
That's also reflected in what we're talking about today, where he's also the one who's the next name behind Tiger Woods in the list of players to win all four majors, because he is different to those guys. And you see, like Scotty's year last year, one of the things that's tough for him is, how do you back that up? One of the things that was tough for Jordan was, how do I go for, because he was the All-American boy, like he was the one. When he got those three majors in that sort of space of time, it's just, golf doesn't work in a straight line, does it? And it's just so hard, and then new people come along who are really good, and it's such a crisis of confidence in this game when things go a bit wrong, and what feels easy one day becomes difficult. There's so much of this that to stay on top for a long time, almost impossible. That's reserved for the greats. She did it. Rory's doing it right now. Tiger did it. Jack did it. And it's special. It's like, I can't. It's so hard sometimes to see players like Jack and Tiger, and especially Tiger. I think, it's easy for me, because of what I think of Tiger, to go, well, no, there can't be another like it. Or done deal. Don't even want to discuss it with you. There can't be another Tiger Woods. Like, we have to sometimes look at what he's doing. It's like, this is as close as we've seen. We mentioned last year, this is as close as the golf we saw from Tiger Woods, what Scotty did over a year. But you're right, the longevity of what Rory's doing, whilst it's not there with Tiger right now, it's the best we've seen since.
Yeah. Let's push it ahead to what this means for the rest of this major season, Damo, and for the rest of Rory's career, really, as well. But he's going to arrive at Quail Hollow in 4 weeks' time. Of course, that he can win around with his eyes closed, with a skip in his step.
Well, he will win. I mean, I absolutely have no question about it. He's going to be the most light-hearted. He's going to relish every press conference that he does. He loves the golf course. He has no fears now, because he doesn't have to think about, I'm never going to get the green jacket, because he's got it. Everything else from this point onwards is easy. Trust me. It's just the way it's going to be. At the Open, necessarily, I don't know about that one, because he didn't.
Yeah, you do, don't lie.
Well, he'll be going for the fourth leg of the year slam at the Open, so there'll be a little extra pressure
on that one.
I'm
not sure about that, because he didn't do great, did he, last time? Let's face it. He had that horrible start around Royal Portrush, and And so whether that's going to hamper him around there, I don't know. But
that was all
quite
part of the burden, though, wasn't it? That was all part of the period of time when he's trying to get the job done. That's still 5 years down the road, right? When we were there, and obviously coming home and like being Northern Irish, that interview where he broke down with Tim Barter. I mean, like, but he's conquered a burden now. Worth saying with Damo that whenever we do a major, I don't even need to ask the name in the envelope. It's Rory McIlroy.
Because she's finally got it right.
Here,
After 10 years of trying.
Here, definitely. But not
right.
all of them, because some of the courses, like I would have said, Pinehurst wouldn't necessarily have suited Rory that week. I think I've forgotten who I did go for. It certainly wasn't Rory.
You said Bryson, didn't you?
Yeah, must have been. Probably my guy missed the cut. But I don't necessarily think he plays brilliantly on really rock-hard golf courses like Pinehurst is, and that's why maybe Oakmont, we don't know how we'll go there.
Will Oakmont suit him, Nick?
I
feel like US Open, wasn't it?
Yeah, I played well, and I would go against the grain because I wasn't a great driver, so I shouldn't have had the opportunities, but I had a really good week. Yeah. It feels like it's a very Scheffler-esque course. It's very much a show play course, Oakmont. It's so penal, but if he drives it well, which he will.
He's become a US Open specialist of sorts in recent years, which would surprise you with Rory.
His thinking, I think, will be a big asset there. You know, the bit he sent, which I thought, again, one of the things, testament to Rory, like Tiger, is that he's smart enough to go, like, all the people came before me, what were they? He was great at that. And I love the way he strategized. And he picked the best. And it made Tiger better than all of them, because you add it all up and it's the sum of its parts. And he's doing that. And, you know, he's open enough to not only think it, but say it. Like, Scotty strategy, I need to start being more measured in terms of how that's going to be a great asset at that major championship. But all of them, to be fair, because you know he's great when he's chasing, right? That's why he's got the most come from behind wins. You say to him, you must push that accelerator as hard as you can now. I'm all in. Yeah. But defending and plotting and knowing when to push, when to sit back, like he did the other day, and like knowing just like be on that 66 on the back of the disappointment. His mindset going out for that second day was, whoa. They don't need to get him back straight away after 2 doubles in the last 4. Just, gently. Well, and he did. And he waited. He was patient. He got the 66. He backed up another 66. Now he's got a green jacket. And I think that sort of part of Rory McIlroy makes him a great threat going forward. Just on what Laura said there, I've always got a huge amount of faith that he was going to get across the line here. I was getting a bit concerned. Now he's broken through that barrier, I have a much, much higher expectation for what he will do in majors, because I thought it was just such a massive burden. Yeah. And that golf course, I mean, it couldn't come at a better time. Yeah. Wind at his back. Yeah. Course he's had success at. PGA, there's a very good chance he snaps that one up.
So he's going to win the PGA Championship, definitely. He's going to win the US Open. He'll be going for the 4th leg of the year slam, Portrush. I mean, what story that would be?
Well, if he gets the first 3, he's obviously got the first 2. We know that's in the book. But if he gets the first 3, then I mean, I said he'll never play under that much pressure again that he did yesterday. But if he actually did that, which I don't know about whether he's going to have that chance. But then the pressure's back to the level it was this week.
I don't think it is, though.
It's
a different sort of pressure, but I just sort of think. Look, I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves, obviously.
I know,
but I just think he's achieved his lifetime dream yesterday, and I think now we're going to see a different Rory.
Yeah, I know, but we're talking about a Grand Slam in a year, and I don't think it's going to happen.
We've given him the next 2 already.
Well, the next one's definite. That is, I'm not even going to argue about that. But I just think if it did happen, then the pressure's at that same level as we had yesterday. If he's got a chance on Sunday to win the Open and win the Grand Slam in a calendar year. Because that's bigger than getting the Grand Slam.
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
Tiger didn't do that.
And apparently he's going to win the Ryder Cup on his own.
Yeah.
No, I'm not saying that. No,
going to get all 14 and a half points on his own.
You can say what you like. You can say what you like. I was right. He won the Masters.
I honestly, if someone asked me like who I think is going to win, I'd be like, oh well, I definitely think Rory's going to win the PGA Championship. After that, I don't know, because there's a depth of talent there. Taking nothing away from historical golf, because obviously in Tiger's time there was a depth of talent too. And there's always been great players to beat, but there's a lot to get past now who are more than capable.
And maybe we underappreciate just how emotionally draining the last week might have been for him as well. Maybe he's tired, basically, and maybe he does.
He's got time though, Jamie.
Yeah,
like,
good for
you're
weeks,
right. You're right, and it could fall a bit. It could go flat because it happens sometimes when he gets the next major. It doesn't quite, because he will have his expectation will be through the roof, because he's already mentioned it yesterday in his press conference. It's like, Yeah, I feel amazing, and that feeling's going to get better. And I'm going somewhere having just won the Masters, feeling incredible, clearly being the best player in the world at the moment in the golf I'm playing. And I know how to win around this place better than anybody else. Like, the stars are aligned, but in itself, he's going to have to, and he will do, because he's got that to his game as well, it being measured in how he approaches it. I do think, I feel like there's a very good chance he wins another major this year. I feel like there's a good chance he wins two. I'm not sure we're going to get, as lovely as that would be as a narrative, I'm not sure we're going to get to Port Rush and have that on the cards.
Absolutely not.
And he's going to have a week at the Zurich with Shane as well, which will be a nice week for him as well. Let's push it on to the Ryder Cup then as well, because I think he's quoted as saying not that long ago that his last two things he wants to achieve in his career are win a green jacket and win one more away Ryder Cup. Obviously, he was part of the team at the Miracle at Medina as well, but that would be the icing on the cake if Europe could go there and win that in that bear pit.
Yeah, it's going to be the hardest environment the European boys will ever play in. There's absolutely no question about that. They're going to assemble a great team with a great captain, and the preparation will be absolutely spot on, because we learnt that from the captain last time. He's going to do the same again. But you've got a New York crowd round a really American-style golf course. I mean, all the European boys play on the American tour, so they're used to that type of golf.
Actually, you can make the argument that American-style golf courses actually suit our players even
more.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
American players have almost become plotters and plodders, and we're now the guys that bomb it.
That's why I say our guys do play. But I just think the environment. If we get off to a bad start, it's going to be. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll be cheering with all the Europeans that are there. Not there's going to be that many by the sound of it, because I can't get tickets. It's going to be tough, but what a place to win a Ryder Cup, and it would just be the best celebration ever. I mean, I can't wait for it to get going, to be honest with you. It's going to be something.
I walked a couple of holes with Luke Donald on Saturday, and he's just cock a hoop with how his boys have started this year.
It's coming home, isn't it? when you it couldn't be going better. Look, two Europeans in the playoff yesterday. The success that the Europeans have had on the PGA Tour so far this year. All of those things are like, the team looks great. Luke's preparation. Nothing against Keegan Bradley, but he's not doing what Luke Donald and that backroom staff are doing.
I don't even know if he's going to be the captain. He
No,
might be playing.
And that throws a little spanner in the works, a lovely little spanner if you're a European fan, because even just the confusion at the moment, it would probably clear itself up, but think of all the work Luke's doing right now, and that team are doing right now to plant little seeds that players won't even know they're doing, that just allow them to be the best version of themselves if they get that call, if they become the player that's part of it. And I just think it's in a really good place. Now, of course, they're going to go there and it's going to be a really, really uncomfortable environment, and it is going to be leery. But I would say the other side of that coin is it's going to be difficult until it's difficult for the Americans, because they aren't going to respond very well to that. They don't like losing, the New York crowds. They're expected to win. We're supposed to wallop them, let's be honest. Yeah. This is America. This is New York. Like, you don't come here. Like, we're going to send them home with the tail between their legs. Yeah.
And the New York crowd will eat their own.
Yeah.
They'll turn on the Americans if the Americans get behind the 8 ball.
We've spent a lot of this chat talking about the burden of expectation and pressure. There's a burden of expectation and pressure. It's like, it is the hardest thing, as Rory said, to do, win a Ryder Cup away from home. But I'd imagine it's certainly quite tough to tee up as the home team. Like, you do need to win, lads. Like, enjoy it. And it's incredible, and we are favourites, and it's great, and we're going to get that Ryder Cup back, but we must win. Can't be us again. That happened in Chicago. We can't have that again, guys. It's got to be the Europeans that give home turf away next, and of course they've got that to come, and our team looks great. I just think it's going to be I like our chances.
Yeah, I know. Well, look, that's all the way in September. We've got another 3 major championships before then, which Rory's going to win all 3. We've just decided that between us. Let's just finish by reflecting on yesterday and the magnitude of it. Nick, does this elevate him into a different stratosphere, even past greats of the game like Trevino, Watson, Palmer, who've won more majors than Rory, but never did what Rory did yesterday?
Yes. I'm taking a bit of the lead from Nick Faldo, who's also got more majors. But Nick looked at me like, I was like, what are you even asking me? Like, of course he's gone past me. Yeah. It's like, this is unparalleled. It's like there's 5 guys, and look who they are who've done it. And Jack and Tiger being in that group is especially important. So yes, I think it does separate. But knowing Rory, as you know him and as Laura knows him, he will want to justify that positioning by adding more. So actually one day it won't just be the fact that I did the slam, they didn't, but they got more majors. And he has that potential now. The gates are open, and as much as I don't see him getting to Tiger, I do see him adding what he's already made again, potentially, in the years he's got left, because I think some of his best golfing days are still in front of him.
And I think Rory thinks that as well. Some of his best days are still in front of him.
Absolutely. This is a tremendous hurdle he's gone over yesterday, and now, as I keep saying, it's plain sailing for me. And he'll, as long as his game keeps the way it is at the elite level, it seems like he's always hitting the ball well. Very rarely, he's sorted his wedges out. I mean, the shot he hit into 18 in the playoff, not the bad one, and not the one over on 13, which are inexplicable. You look at the rhythm of the wedge he hit there. He's got all departments of his game working now. So yeah, it's onward and upward. He's in rarefied air. He doesn't have to justify it for me. He's done the job under the immense pressure, and I'm looking forward to the next 5-6 years.
Greatest European golfer of all time?
Seve.
Oh, you still have Seve there?
Just because I can't not say that. I know Seve's not done that, but for me, growing up, Seve, but for achievement, Rory McIlroy.
Yeah.
I think if you ask a kid that in the future, they're going to say Rory McIlroy.
Oh, of course,
because
absolutely.
To us,
Yeah.
You know, Nick and Seve were like the guys, but that was then, and I think for kids growing up, it's going to be Rory.
And I think maybe there's a distinction between greatest and best, right? I always say that Jack was the greatest golfer of all time, but Tiger was probably the best golfer of all time.
I agree with that.
You can argue with what Seve did for European golf. He maybe will always be the greatest European golfer of all time, but I think it's unquestionable now Rory McIlroy is the best.
Yes, without a doubt.
Yeah, and arguably because of the character, there are some parallels there, you know, with how he went about his game. The character and flamboyance and aura of Seve is hard to match, but come the end of Rory's career, who's to say that we won't be there? It's a different world we live in these days, but he's standout in every sense.
And they both wear their heart on their sleeve. They've both got charisma. They both put us
Never
through the
change
ringer.
that. Yeah, never change that. It's a beautiful thing.
It was wonderful to be there to witness history in the making yesterday. Thank you for listening to the Sky Sports Golf Podcast presented by Callaway. Next week's is a Tuesday podcast. It comes from Royal Portrush. We'll be hearing from the champion golfer of the year, Xander Schauffele, and no doubt reflecting more on what has been a monumental week here in Augusta National. Thank you for listening. Do join us again next week.